Appreciate everybody joining us on a Friday afternoon. Hope everyone is doing great. Been on, obviously, since the Dukes Mayo Bowl. We don't feel like we've slowed down at all. The excitement from that win has not subsided, has only increased, and there's a ton of energy and excitement around South Carolina football right now, and it's been great to capitalize on the season that we had, winning 7 games, winning the Dukes Mayo Bowl as it leads into 2022. It's been a great week. Our players came back. We started class this week, so they've been back at it. It's great to see everybody back. Like I told them on Sunday night in our team meeting, I've missed them after not seeing them since we broke in Charlotte. Been busy with the transfer portal, as y'all know. We've been hard at work at that, and still are, not slowing down on that, and we never will. Been busy on recruiting for the class of 2022, 2023, and beyond. Today is actually our first day back out on the road as coaches across college football, and then the next 2 weeks as well, being able to get out on the road recruiting on Monday for the next 2 weeks. So eager to be back out in high schools and having a chance to visit with high school coaches in person again, starting today, but then carrying into the next 2 weeks. We've got recruiting weekends coming up the next 3 weekends here on campus. Excited to host a fantastic group of young men and their families tomorrow, and then next weekend, and then the following weekend as well. So a lot of good going on with South Carolina football right now. Like I said, got a big junior day tomorrow, as you guys know, so I'm excited to get over to Colonial Life Arena and cheer on Coach Martin and his team tomorrow as we take on the Gators, and really looking forward to being out there at halftime when our football team, our football program is honored for what we accomplished this past season. So looking forward to getting over there tomorrow, and hope we'll have a great crowd to cheer on the basketball team, but also to see the football team get honored also. Obviously, I know the news is now official that we've hired Sterling Lucas to be our new defensive ends and outside linebackers coach. Excited to be able to add him to our staff. First of all, we wish Mike Peterson well. Had a good conversation with Mike. I had a feeling when Florida changed coaches that he may be getting that call. He's from Gainesville and went to high school at Florida, so it didn't shock me when he reached out and told me that they had contacted him and had a good conversation with Mike, had a good conversation with Coach Napier, and we certainly wish he and his family well down in Gainesville. And fortunate that we've been able to now hire Sterling Lucas. The minute I called Clayton to tell him that that Mike was leaving, we talked, and probably 20 minutes later, I got a text message from Clayton about Sterling also, and somebody that I was familiar with. Many of you old hats on here will remember Brian Van Gorder's short tenure here at the University of South Carolina, and I think the only recruiting trip that Coach Van Gorder went on was with me to go down to Orangeburg to see Sterling Lucas, as a matter of fact. So you talk about things coming full circle. Went down to Orangeburg Wilkinson High School, visited Sterling Lucas, and then Coach Van Gorder and I had lunch at Cracker Barrel, and that might be the last time I saw him, was right after that. But we're going back some time from that one as well, and Coach Van Gorder is a fantastic coach. I don't mean that in a negative way, but it was a short tenure here before he went back to the NFL during his time. For you new guys on the beat, look it up. It's a heck of a story. But that was one visit that Coach Van Gorder went on. So Sterling, somebody that I knew obviously in high school. We didn't get him. For whatever reason, he chose to go to NC State and had a great career there, but somebody that I've kept in touch with. We interviewed a handful of people for this position. There was a lot of interest, sitting coordinators in college football, current defensive coordinators, position coaches in the SEC, NFL coaches, and we, Coach White and I, kind of narrowed down what we were looking for, interviewed 3 people in person here over the last week, and all 3 of those guys that we talked to were fantastic, but we just felt like at the end that Sterling gave us the best chance to continue to improve the production in that defensive end outside linebacker room, to continue to improve the production of our defense, and to continue to recruit at an elite level. Was really impressed with him, talking to him. Had a lot of people that reached out to me about him unsolicited, of coaches that he's worked with. over the years, going back to Baltimore and then now currently in Jacksonville. And then I was fortunate there's a lot of people that I know that are on the staff of the Baltimore Ravens, people that I worked with or coached at Virginia Tech. And then also with the Jacksonville Jaguars, guys that I either worked with or played with in college. And I caught a lot of them before they even knew that we were going to interview Sterling Lucas, and they were all over the top in what he's about. So I think who he's been around, the players he's been around, the systems that he's been around, he will really help our football team, our defense specifically. Those defensive ends, outside linebackers, and again, there is a connection with Coach White going back to the NC State days, but that certainly helped. But that wasn't the reason he was hired. He was hired because he's the best guy to give us a chance to continue to elevate the performance of the guys in that room and the people on our defense. So we're excited about getting him here. He's eager to get to work. He was waiting on everything to be official so he could get up here and be around junior day and start recruiting tomorrow. And I think he's going to arrive in Columbia. He just texted me before I walked in here that he'll be here tonight and he'll be around tomorrow with the guys that we have on campus. So excited to bring somebody back to South Carolina that's from South Carolina originally, that his family's still here in South Carolina. Wife is from Charlotte, so there's a lot of ties to this area, and excited to add him to the Carolina family. And also want to wish Joe Bowen good luck as well. Got an opportunity to go to Miami of Ohio as the linebackers coach. What a great opportunity for him, and worked as our defensive graduate assistant last year and was unbelievable. Was a fantastic help to our players on and off the field. I think you saw that if you were following anything on social media this week, the number of our players that reached out to Joe and congratulated him on Twitter, and we're certainly going to miss him, but he's a big-time young coach that I'm sure sometime down the road we'll try and hire back here at South Carolina. But wish him well also. And with that, be glad to take any questions.
Ben Portnoy's got the first one.
Shane, you mentioned just relationships and knowing Sterling and obviously Clayton's relationship with him. I know that's something that's been important to you in the past with guys just top to bottom on this staff. Just when you look at the staff and having had that and, adding another guy that you and Clayton do have a relationship to, I guess just how important or critical, or was that something that you wanted? And how important has that been to the process?
I wouldn't say it was something that I wanted. Clayton and I talked to people. Like I said, I'm sure he had phone conversations with people. I had phone conversations with people, but as far as guys that we brought in, Ben, he had a connection to a couple of them. He had no connection to one of them. We were looking for the best guys, and certainly familiarity helps. But when we hired Montario Hardesty, I had never met Montario in my life, I don't think, before we brought him here. Clayton White didn't know Torian Gray, but Clayton White and Torian Gray were able to hit it off, and obviously what they did this season with our defensive backs and our defense speaks for itself. So, I had never met Luke Day before we hired him, but he's critical to our success here at South Carolina. So, familiarity helps, but at the end of the day, you want to hire the best coach, but also I take my time with hires, as you guys know, and I want to be very thorough because I want to make sure that I'm getting the best coach for sure, but also the guy that's the right fit, that is going to be about what we're about here in this program on and off the field. That's going to, care about these kids and love these kids and coach them hard and be able to blend in with the staff. And this position, Sterling's in particular, works closely with Jimmy Lindsey. And, Jimmy was involved in the interview process with all the guys that we talked to. And I think it'll be a good fit with, Jimmy and Sterling being able to work together also.
David Cloninger.
Hey, Shane, thanks for doing this. A couple questions. One for last year. Did you guys vote on permanent team captains? And then for this year, when will all of the recruits for spring be on campus?
Yeah, permanent team captains, we did. It was JJ, Enagbari, Parker White, Jalen Foster, Javon Gwynn, and Jabari Ellis. Yeah, so those five. We said vote on 4, and the vote was, so close that we weren't going to not, put the 5th guy on there because he had just as many votes as the 4th guy pretty much. So 5 permanent captains, and they earned it. They were phenomenal. Got one of them back in Gwynn. So appreciate those guys being our permanent captains. To me, there's no greater honor than have the respect of your teammates, and what an honor that is for those guys to be the 2021 permanent captains here at the University of South Carolina. And then as far as you said the transfers or the new freshmen, who'd you say? I'm sorry.
Just all the guys from the recruiting class or whoever's coming in, when will they be on campus?
Got 9 of the high school signees are here right now that we welcome to campus. Excited about those guys being here. They moved in the end of last week, so really fortunate to have those guys here. And I can't talk about them publicly, but the transfers that you guys have read about most recently, they are all in the process of getting here and should be here in the next few days if they're not here already. And, a couple of the ones, Austin Stogner still has some classes he has to finish at Oklahoma, so he's got to finish that up this spring as well. Spencer's taking care of some loose ends in Arizona and isn't on campus today, but will be here soon. So really, to answer your question, other than the high school guys that didn't enroll mid-year, we should have everybody here pretty soon.
Colin Taylor.
Shane, you've mentioned you guys aren't slowing down at all in the portal as you get ready to add more pieces to the portal and finish up this 2022 class. What are some of the positions of need that you're going to be kind of focusing on over the course of the next few weeks to add depth or add some talent there?
Yeah. Are those pictures of stadiums behind you? You're muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The Wrigley Field, Cleveland, and Michigan on the other side. So my wife will appreciate that. She's the one that found them.
Really? That's pretty sweet. I'm trying. We finally moved into a house, and I'm in an ongoing war with my wife about what I can put on the walls and what I can't put on the walls. So I need your wife to talk to mine because right now it's like a screening process, and very few things are making the cut right now to get up on the wall. Needs anything, or we're not going to turn down a great player, for sure. If there's a great player, certainly, we'll pursue it. So having said that, we're kind of wide open from that standpoint. If you look at December recruiting, maybe what we didn't get done that we needed to get done, defensive end, outside linebacker was a major need for us in December. We didn't quite get where we needed to get there, in my opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to take – we already took one in the transfer portal. Doesn't mean we're going to take another one, but we potentially could. Running back with Kevin and Zaquandre leaving, that's 2 guys that you lose. We have one coming in, as you guys know. We'll see what happens with that. So I would say it's pretty flexible, Colin, like kind of looking for everything. There's 2 or 3 guys that we're talking to right now currently, that we're trying to, wait on them to make decisions. And then a lot of that, honestly, will just kind of depend on as we go through spring practice and where we are. And there's always the flexibility of adding guys after spring practice as well, like we did last year with Tyrese Ross came after spring practice. He came in the summertime and things like that as well.
Bill?
Yeah, Shane, I was just wondering what sort of the schedule is for the off-season program. Obviously, the guys just got back, but what's sort of the timeline for things leading up to spring practice?
Really, they'll be all with Coach Day. Almost said all in. They will be all with Coach Day. Pretty much here on out. The coaches will be on the road recruiting. We're fortunate that the NCAA allows us time to get with them and do some football stuff within the rules in January and February. So we'll take advantage of that when we have time. But pretty much the next 5 weeks, I guess, Hale, is all the weight room. And any of the allotted time that the NCAA gives us, anything that Luke and his staff don't use, we'll steal and use for some football meetings and things like that. But this is a critical time. Like we've got to get stronger. We've got to get faster. We've got to continue to develop our players, and we got some guys, a lot of guys that need to take major steps here in this winter conditioning program. So that'll be pretty much be everything with the weight room here, for the most of the time. As we get into late February, that'll be a little bit more football time and just an hour less in the weight room each week maybe. And then we, spring break, and then we come back from spring break and right into spring practice. So it's really a quick window because, I think it's 3 full weeks or something like that after, after signing day, and then we're kind of into football stuff. So it's a quick turnaround between now and spring practice, and the weight room's the priority, for us as we go forward.
Mike Yuba.
Shane, there'll be a lot of people, obviously, in Columbia and then outside of Columbia that will look at what you guys have been able to accomplish in the transfer portal this year. And I know probably we're in the honeymoon phase of that until they take the field and, we'll see how the results turn out. But the point being is, what have you learned about the transfer portal, this new era with NIL? And is there anything as you look back, and I know you guys are still in the process, but as you look at it on January 14th in comparison to when you were heading into your first season last year, what have you learned the most with this new era of college football?
Good question. And fantastic wall behind you too. Like my wife would never allow it, but that's like my vision for what I'd love to have in the house in some area. Props. I think I've learned. It's a great question. One, I think I've learned that with these transfers, because they've been through the recruiting process before, Mike, they're very focused on what they want to see, and they know what they're looking for. And they don't need necessarily the glitz and glamour and to be wined and dined and things like that. They're very much focused on, here's what I'm looking for in a school. Can you guys provide it to me? So it's very, bottom line and a different conversation. So learning that with the transfers, that they're transferring for a reason. What exactly is it that you're transferring from your school for, and what is it that you're looking for? Whether it be a degree program, whether it be playing time, fresh start, just finding that, and then just showing how we can give that to them is probably the big thing. And then I think just being flexible and being willing to change, because there's just been so much over this past year with transfer portal, COVID, name, image, and likeness. It's just a lot, and I think the biggest thing is just understanding that things are going to change, and you're constantly trying to stay, one step ahead and continue to put your program in the best position to be successful.
Rick Henry.
Hey, Shane, happy 2022 to you. I'll follow up on Mike's question. When you look at recruiting now, and I know it's always been pretty labor intensive if you want to be good at it, but now with the transfer portal, the challenges of COVID, it seems like you and your staff, you spend every waking hour recruiting. Is that the case? I mean, is it that much more intense? And also, since you had your mayo bath after the bowl win, have you been able to have mayo on a sandwich or anything since then?
No. I thought long and hard about it, Rick. Last Sunday, I was going to go to where's the Ray Tanner? Fifth Avenue Deli, right? They've got the Ray Tanner, I think, is one of the sandwiches there. And I was going to go last Sunday, and I think they put mayonnaise on that sandwich. And I was going back and forth, like, do I really want to do that? And they made it easy for me because it was closed on Sunday when I went by there, so I didn't have the opportunity to, so I didn't. So to answer your question, no, I have not had mayonnaise since the mayo bath. I may here at some point. But yes, it does feel like it's changed because the recruiting, Rick, never ends. I mean, you're constantly texting and talking to guys even when you can't be out on the road recruiting. But this past week, without a doubt, was a lot more busy than it normally would have been the first week of January. That should be somewhat of a slow week for you because your players aren't back on campus yet, and you can't go out on the road and visit high school prospects, talking about last week. But with the transfer portal, that's kind of wide open and do whatever you need to do, So last week would have been normally a slow week, relatively speaking, but it wasn't because that's all we were doing last week was visiting with potential transfers, So I don't feel like I did sneak away and go to the beach for a couple of days, but I don't feel like and even on then, I mean, it was talking to transfers, hiring coaches, or talking to potential coaches, things like that. So I don't feel like we've slowed down a whole lot, but that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, even in the summertime when you're, on vacation and off, the recruiting part, you never really turn that off.
Pete Ackerbelly.
Yeah, Shane, wanted to ask another recruiting related question. Are you getting a sense from high schoolers that they want to lock in on that December date? Maybe there's more a sense of urgency because of what may happen in the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's a good point. I haven't, Pete, but it makes total sense, and I could see why they would. But in my mind, I think a lot of them already are kind of doing that. I mean, to me, the signing day is December, and if you don't sign in December, it's for a reason. There may have been a coaching change, or you're just not really sure that's the school you want to go to. But I think I speak for most college coaches. We see December as the signing period where everybody's going to sign. Now, if they don't, certainly I could see where guys are a little hesitant not to in December now because they know the transfer portal is looming out there as well. So I haven't had anybody tell me that, but I could certainly see that being something that young men consider.
Gene Sapikoff.
Hey, Shane. Patience with coaches in the NFL and in college football, or lack thereof. Do you think that's changed over the years? I mean, the Texans just fired a guy after a year. Coaches are getting 1 or 2 years or 3. I know you've been around that since you were a little kid. Has that changed, and if so, why has it changed?
Yeah, it's absolutely changed. I think we've talked about it before. Or with you guys on this. I go back to my dad at Virginia Tech, and you look at the beginning of his career, he won 2, 3, 6, 6, 5, 2 before he won 9, and then started the bowl streak. I mean, today's time, he never probably wouldn't have gotten past the second season, much less the 6th. So it has certainly changed. I mean, not just in the NFL. I mean, you look at college football, and you go back to Gene Chizik at Auburn, wins the national championship and is fired, 2 years later, I think. You look at LSU, and they made a change and fired a coach that won a national championship 2 years ago. You look at Florida, they made a change, fired a coach that was in the SEC championship and a New Year's Six bowl game last year. And I just think there's a lot of reasons for it. There's a lot of money involved in this profession. There's a lot at stake on Saturday afternoons in the fall for a lot of different reasons, and it's just very much society-wise. It's very much instant gratification, immediate. What have you done now? And the days of having 5-6 years to build a program, I mean, that's over. You better find a way to I say win now. I mean, I think people are realistic. But I think every situation is different. Those schools that I talked about, those are all different situations. You see NFL coaches getting fired after a year. It's a great profession that I'm in. I love it, and I'm extremely grateful for to be standing up here as the head coach of South Carolina. But it is a tough, vicious profession at times. Because obviously head coaches are one thing, but you don't think about all the assistant coaches and their families that move to Houston, Texas, or wherever. You don't think about all the support staff people. It's a tough part of it, but it's the business we signed up for, Gene.
Phil Kornbluth.
Yeah, hey Shane. I know you watched the national championship game the other night. 2 questions: your thoughts about Kirby winning the national championship. And then secondly, I know your dream is to have South Carolina in that game. In watching those 2 teams, where do you think, you have to go with your program to get there one day in the near future?
Was watching the game, was happy for Kirby and those players. I know how important or what Georgia means to Kirby. It's where he grew up. It's where he went to college. So happy for him to bring a championship to them. And then happy for those assistant coaches that I worked with and a lot of the players, that I was involved with from a recruiting standpoint, whose homes I've been in. It was neat seeing them have a chance to win a national championship and knowing that I sat in their home 4 or 5 years ago talking about that possibility. So that was cool to see. And you're right. I mean, it's ultimately the goal here. It's something that we can certainly do. I tell recruits all the time that we went to the SEC championship in 2010, and we have more resources here now than we did at that point, and we were pretty dang good then and played for the SEC championship. So we've got more resources. Now, history has shown if you go to the SEC championship and you win it, you're probably going to be in the playoff. So that's what we're just working towards every day. And to me, it starts with recruiting, Phil, and being able to recruit great players. There's a lot of great players and talented guys that were on that field the other night. There's no doubt about it. So you've got to get in there and you got to continue to recruit, and you've got to continue to just push your program forward, on and off the field, and develop your players and try and make this the very best program that it can be day in, day out. And you're in the toughest conference in America, and you're playing in the SEC against the best week in, week out, and it's what we signed up for. And as a competitor, you love it. So now you've got to try and make your program the very best it can be each and every day, to have a chance to compete and win those games on Saturdays against those teams.
Cam Gaskins.
Hey, Shane, wanted to go back and ask about Sterling real quick. Wanted to ask how different it is hiring in year 2 when you have more of an established culture, whereas, year 1 this time last year, you were trying to create that culture. And what is it about Sterling, I guess, that makes you think he'll be a good fit for the culture that you guys have built after 1 year?
No, it's a great point, Cam. It's a whole lot easier. I mean, last year I was trying to hire, 30 different positions at one time. When you talk about staff, support staff, weight room, player development, there's just so much going on. Now it's a lot easier because you have a better idea about the people that you have hired and how a new hire may complement them and work with them. So you'll have a much better understanding of the current people in this building for sure after 1 year, and the players as well, and what the guys in that room, Jordan Strawn and Jordan Birch and those guys, the type of coach that's going to fit with them as well and be able to push them and get the best out of them. So that helps, from that standpoint, just knowing that. And with Sterling, to me, it was, I knew Sterling in 2000, whatever year he came out of high school, 7, 8, whatever that was, when we were trying to recruit him. And he's obviously changed a lot in those 14, 15 years. And it was impressive when he got up there and talked. Just anytime you hire a guy from the NFL that hasn't recruited, that's always something that's in the back of your mind. But after being around him and just seeing his work ethic and his hunger and desire to recruit, and his personality and his ability to relate with people, I have no doubt he'll be a fantastic recruiter. And then just when he got up and just started talking about coaching that position and being able to get some new ideas in here, to help Clayton. And then also I think just his ability, the different systems he's been a part of. And he was with the Ravens, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars hired Joe Cullen, an assistant with the Baltimore Ravens, to be the defensive coordinator. And Sterling was the guy that he wanted to take, from Baltimore with him. And Sterling's got a lot of experience with different positions on that defense. And I feel like he's got flexibility here that could coach about anything and bring knowledge to that defensive room too, to continue to help our defense advance and continue to be multiple and get a little better each year.
Last question goes to Corey Diaz.
Shane, and as a follow-up to that, I'm curious if you noticed this go-around versus your first go-around as a first-year head coach in terms of interest from potential candidates. I mean, did you notice more interest coming to work for a guy whose vision and culture of a program has started to kind of take shape as people have been able to see from the outside of the building looking at him?
Absolutely. And that's relatively speaking, Corey, because last year you take Sterling's position that he just got and you multiply that by 30 positions or whatever I was trying to hire. There were a lot of people that were reaching out last year about a lot of different positions, but certainly a lot of people that reached out to me that are at other Power 5 schools that expressed an interest in this position, or reached out to other coaches on our staff expressing an interest in this position. And the one thing that kept coming back is they saw what we did this year, and they've seen things about South Carolina football on social media that Justin King and Zach and their teams do, and have followed the program and watched us on television, and they saw what we're about and where we're going. They saw the Dukes Mayo Bowl and the performance we put on, and that excited a lot of people. That, to be honest with you, maybe I think there were some people that reached out that were interested this year that, I don't know, maybe if I reached out to the same people last year, I'm not sure they would have had an interest in coming to South Carolina. But I think what we did this season certainly opened up a lot of eyes and made this place an even more attractive place because of a lot of reasons. State of South Carolina, the city of Columbia, this university, this program. There's so much good going on right now, and there's a lot of people that want to be a part of it, potential coaches and potential players that we're recruiting also. So, 2021 was a great year and behind us, and now we're on to 2022 and trying to find a way to be even better this year also.
All right, Coach has another commitment he needs to get to, so we're going to wrap it up. Appreciate everybody's time today.
Thanks, everybody, jumping on, and have a great weekend. Hope to see everybody at the basketball game tomorrow. Go Gamecocks.